Have you ever watched history repeat itself?
Dare we take our water supply for granted, as we do the air we breathe? Underground water, once close to the surface of the earth, has fallen as much as 800 feet in some locations. Prolonged water famines are turning once fertile farmlands into arid wastes. How in this great age could we ever run short of water? What is happening to the nation's water supply?
In 2014, renowned water policy expert Robert Glennon wrote, "Western growers of alfalfa, a low-value and high water use crop, are on pace this year to export 2 million tons of alfalfa to China, South Korea, and Japan, produced with enough water to supply several million U.S. families for a year." Let's unpack that. During a decades-long drought, groundwater that could have fulfilled the needs of millions of people was instead used to water roughly 284 square miles of hay sold overseas as food for livestock. And the guy who wrote that article says, in a legal sense, there's nothing preventing that.
So if you think about our aquifer as a giant milkshake glass, and each demand for water is a straw into the glass, what many countries and many states in the U.S. permit is a limitless number of straws into the single glass.
Glennon's been chronicling America's hydrological headaches for decades.
Ever since scientists in the 1940s and 50s figured out how to have high-capacity pumps and drill bits that could get a well dug down to 1,000 feet, we've been overpumping the aquifer.
This is Arizona's Sulphur Springs Valley, home to more than 12,000 people who rely on groundwater to live. Satellite images show they share their water supply with hundreds of plots of thirsty crops. And public records show in 2021, people with their straw in this glass drank up more than 75,000 acre-feet, which is 24.5 billion gallons of groundwater, mostly for irrigation. If that happens faster than nature can replenish the well, it can dry up for everyone. Glennon says groundwater regulations need an update before that happens.
The 1980 Groundwater Management Act. Unfortunately, Peter, that only applied to sections of the state, the heavily populated areas, and one major agricultural district. The rest of the state, today as we speak, and California, today as we speak, lives under a rule that anyone who wants can drill a well and start pumping to their heart's content, so long as the water is being used for a beneficial use. Oh, all right, what's that mean? It means nothing.
He says nearly anything can be considered a beneficial use.
The only case I know of that found pumping not to be beneficial was some character who wanted to pump groundwater to kill gophers. All right, so if you're not going to kill gophers, it's a pretty good indication that whatever you want to do is going to be beneficial, and that's nonsense.
And in industry today, water is the universal raw material. Almost no product we take for granted could be made without water.
When we use water to produce goods instead of drinking it, does that mean these items are more important to us than the water itself?
10 gallons of water to produce every gallon of gasoline. 65,000 gallons to produce a ton of highly finished steel.
There's a heck of a lot of water used in the United States to grow low-value crops. And there are also some incredibly important businesses to our overall economy. And so we need to figure out ways to incentivize the transfer of water from some parties to other parties.
He's optimistic we'll balance our survival and business needs if we change our attitude toward water and science.
So we've got this milkshake glass, and that's our water supply. We're entering an era of water reallocation. That's a point where if you want to put a new straw into the glass, you need to persuade someone else to take his straw out of the glass.
Without water, life of individuals or nations perishes.